All right, so this first slide here, and I will be descriptive, it's just our logo. It's Guide Dogs of America and now Tender Loving Canines. I guess it's still new enough. It's been a little bit of time now, but we've always been Guide Dogs of America. We've always done guide dogs for people that are visually impaired. But starting at the beginning of last year, we merged with another group down by you guys. They were out of Oceanside called Tender Loving Canines. And we now offer service dogs in addition to guide dogs. We do service dogs for people, veterans with PTSD, children with autism, and we place them in facilities, so like hospitals, schools, and courtrooms. Really wonderful program, really something that I'm proud of as an addition to what we do. And the impact that it's having has been tremendous. At the bottom of the screen, there's a bunch of seals that we work hard to achieve. So our Charity Navigator seal, we're rated one of America's best charities, and we have the Platinum Seal of Transparency. Those are donor focused, but what they mean is that when a donor dollar is given to us, we make sure that it goes straight to the program. They grade us on that. So 80 cents, 81 cents of every dollar that's given goes straight to the dogs, the students. We don't waste a lot on overhead. And then the other two seals, one is our Assistance Dogs International accreditation, and the other one is our International Guide Dog Federation accreditation. What that means is that we meet all of the extremely stringent standards that those organizations hold guide and service dog schools to. They rate us, I believe, every 4 years. And I would never send anybody to a school that wasn't accredited. It's not me bragging. It's just that there's a lot that pop up out there that they say, oh, I could train your dog Fluffy to do this or that or the other thing. This is, as you're about to see in this presentation, this is an extremely in-depth process to make a dog become a guide dog or a service dog. And therefore, the standards that they hold these schools to are as high as they come. So without further ado, let's get started. Let me see, I'm gonna lose, oh, there we go, I just gotta click. So our mission, this is our mission statement. The picture here is a veteran hugging his service dog in a purple jacket. Our mission is to transform lives through partnerships with service dogs. It's that simple. And when the key word there is lives, it's not to just transform people with disabilities. It's not to transform just veterans or people who are blind. When one of our dogs enters someone's life, it transforms everybody's life. It transforms the families. It transforms friends, coworkers. It transforms the community that it's living in. They're extremely impactful in what they do. And then there's more to our program than just giving dogs to people with disabilities. Our dogs, as you'll find out later, some of them are raised in prison. There's puppy raisers involved. The reach in which these four-legged friends have is really tremendous. So that's why we have such a broad mission statement. Who we serve here, as I already covered, people who are blind/visually impaired, that's what we're covering today. Veterans with PTSD or mobility issues, children with autism, and facilities. And I know that you guys are here for the guide dogs, but I do like sharing as much educational stuff as possible. Who knows, you might be friends with someone that's a veteran that's struggling right now, or you have a child with autism yourself, or a niece or a nephew. So I will kind of insert little factoids about that stuff. Just for an educational part. If you don't want to hear it anymore, just say, hey, Zach, shut up. We're here for the guide dogs. But otherwise, I'll keep sharing what I can and try to be as quick as I can. We get a lot of questions about the difference between, what a guide dog does and what a service dog does. The guide dogs, as you guys know, wear a harness with a handle. And our harnesses, when you know that they're from Guide Dogs of America, they're the black leather harness with a white handle. There's other schools that have different colored harnesses, brown with white, whatever it may be. That's how you kind of know what dog is from what school. I think our harnesses are the coolest. Black and white, looks slick, like they're wearing a little tuxedo there. And guide dogs are trained to assist with mobility. Do they do a million other things and impact your life? Yes, but the main factor is to help you travel from one place to another safely. For the service dog side, for veterans, kids with autism, facilities, while all of those disabilities are very different, what the dog does can be pretty similar from disability to disability. It mainly revolves around anxiety and stress and calming people down. They're trained 40 different commands and cues. So a lot of it is related to deep pressure tissue therapy, which means like a dog would lay on someone to help calm them down, lean into their side, give them a hug, the calming effects of a dog. And funny enough, I actually just wrote a story about one of our guide dog graduates, and he made a specific point about that being one of the benefits of his guide dog. So even though the guide dog wasn't trained to be therapeutic, it obviously is. You know, he was talking about this difficult process of moving and filling out paperwork, and he was like, my dog just knew in that moment when I was stressed, ready to break down, to come over and sit and lay down next to me and give me a hug. And that's one of my favorite aspects, you know, of having a dog, is he's my best friend and buddy. So what we do here, we breed, raise, and train professional, highly qualified, expertly matched service dogs. The picture on the screen is a yellow lab wearing a yellow jacket, which is the puppy in training vest. That dog, any dog that's being raised for guide dogs when they're out in public, wears the yellow vest. And then the service dog training vests are purple. That's because the prisons allow purple as the color. It doesn't match with any of the other clothes. Fun fact, this yellow lab on the screen here, my buddy Rufus, he was my travel buddy for fundraisers for a long time. He actually came down to the Braille Center. I had him there and did test walks with him. So he's met a few of you guys. He's now in Arizona living with a graduate of ours. So what we provide is personalized instruction. So no matter, I mean, you guys are all from San Diego, but when you get into class, you're going to be with people from Texas and Florida and New York, and what you need is going to be very different than what they need. And even amongst the people in this call, you might all live in a similar area, but your needs might all be different. The routes that you walk, your activity levels. So we really focus on personalizing the training to specifically what you need. Hey, I do a lot of stairs, or hey, I do a lot of escalators. We're going to put in the extra work to make sure that you're prepared and confident for what you're most concerned or what you think would be of most benefit to you. We offer transportation to and from our schools. So for people down in San Diego, we offer, you know, to schedule a ride or a bus or a train, I don't know, even a flight, even though that seems a little over the top. But for people that are all over the country, we have United Airlines donates miles to us, and we cover the cost of their travel. We provide room and board during a 21-day in-residence program. So that's one of the things that's unique about our program. Over the years, you know, I think right when I started, we switched from a 4-week program to a 3-week. The programs have gotten shorter and shorter over time, and that's just because everybody's lives are so busy. Our program's 3 weeks. I assimilate it to the old Goldilocks and the Three Bears story. You'll find other guide dog programs are 2 weeks. If you have a job, a family, whatever it may be, your life's really busy, maybe you can only do 2 weeks, and that's why you would go to that school. Ours is 3. I call it the 2-week program is really short. It's like the porridge that's too hot. I mean, you are just on your first date with this dog and you're going home with it already. There's just so much to unpack and unfold and get you ready. And you're going to have this dog for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. We want to make sure that you know, what's 1 week in the grand scheme of things? We want to make sure that you guys are ready. And then there's other programs that are 4 weeks, and that's like the cold porridge. It's like by that 4th week, you're like, all right, this is bland. I'm ready to go home. I got this. We provide you with a specialized vest or harness. We offer veterinary care at our clinic. So we have a lot of graduates down in San Diego, obviously being in Southern California. What they do, we don't cover costs for personal vet visits, but maybe once a year, they'll bring their dog up, come visit, get it groomed, take it to the vet, do its checkup, and then go home. Any emergency thing, you know, you can always bring your dog here for care. We'll make sure that it's seen. And then the last thing that we provide is extensive postgraduate support. So we don't just hand you this $60,000 dog and say, all right, have fun, you know, see you in 10 years when you need another one. We are on the phone with you, following up, making sure that you're progressing with your training, making sure that you're progressing with your bonding. We're there for anything that you need. Hey, my harness is wearing out. We got you. You know, oh, hey, he's doing this, he's sniffing, or he's doing that. We've got you. We're always there, because it's not just about the number of dogs that we put out every year. You know, we could put out 1,000 dogs, but if 900 of them come back, what does that really say? It's about making sure that
Sorry,
we have
let's see, I gotta turn my camera.
long-lasting relationships with dogs. So I always like sharing our beginning, how we were founded. It tells a lot about our program. We were founded by a guy named Joseph Jones. He went blind due to tropic fever. He had tropic fever in his 30s, and by the time he was 57, his vision was just gone. And at 57, he went out and wanted to get a guide dog for himself. Hold on, I'm just going to shut my window real quick.
Okay, Zach, while you're doing that, I just wanted to say too that because we're now virtual, though we're based in San Diego, we are now open to all of Southern California. So about half of the people here may be from other parts of Southern California, but just to clarify, what you're saying would apply for other parts other than San Diego, right? In terms of.
That's great to know. That's awesome. And that's really nice that your services are expanded like that. So Joseph was 57, went to get a guide dog, and all of the schools denied him, citing advanced age. They said, this dog's going to outlive you. It's not worth it. And he was like, what the heck? I want to live the rest of my life the way that I want. I want my independence back. And so he went out, hired a German war dog trainer, and bought a German Shepherd and trained that dog as the first guide dog of America. And after that, what I find so astonishing is that he didn't keep the dog for himself. He gave it to a young girl in New York City, and then went back and kept training and training and training. And the school has grown into what it is today, which is we do about 40 to 60 guide dog teams a year, with an additional 20 to 30 service dog teams a year. It's kind of fluctuated, obviously, with COVID and the merger and everything like that, but those are ultimately our goals. Our campus is located, for the picture here, guys, it's a top-down view from the sky. I snagged it from Google Maps of what our campus looks like today. There's a bunch of notable buildings. We've been here since 1980, and it's grown over time. It's in Sylmar, California. So if you guys are familiar with the 5 freeway, I know where your old building used to be was right off the 5. You would just hop on the 5, head north, God bearing no traffic, 2.5 hours, and we're right off the exit at the very tip top of LA, basically the same distance from the exit too. So we have a 7-acre campus. There's a building in the bottom corner here that's our visitor and education center. There's a huge auditorium, that's where we hold classes and graduations, and there's some offices in there. There's a building in the middle that's like an L shape. That is our student dormitories. They were recently renovated in 2018 and 2019, so they're brand new. Each student dorm is gorgeous. It looks like the Hilton in there. It's outfitted with all the latest and greatest assistive technology. I like to joke that if I just yell down the hallway, "Hey Alexa," I get like 82 responses. The toilet's flush, the lights flicker on and off. We outfitted it with, everybody has their own personal AC, heater. There's a dog crate in there. There's a bed. It's like a dorm room. It's amazing. And you also have your own patio. There's a kitchen in there. There's a new training conference room. It's unbelievable. It's really cool. In the top left corner here, there's a small building. That's the admin offices. I call that that's where I work. It's the most boring part of campus. And then on the back side, there is our kennels where all the dogs stay when they're in training or if they're just being boarded. There's a veterinary department in there. And then in the top right corner is the best part of campus. That's the nursery center. That's where the puppies are born. There's usually like 30 to 40 puppies. It's like the most magical place on earth. The nursery, as I was just alluding to, we breed Labradors, we breed Goldens, we breed German Shepherds, and then we cross the Goldens and the Labs just to keep the breeding lines thin. We black and yellow Labs. We don't do a lot of chocolates. We selectively breed because it's so hard to make a guide dog a guide dog. We want to make sure that the dog that you're getting has no family history of cancer or bad elbows or bad hips or bad eyes. We want to, we're trying to make the most perfect dog for you that's going to last long. So we have to be really selective in how we breed. And when the puppies are born, they're, your dog, if you ever get one, your dog has been working to become a guide dog from the actual minute that it was born, which I love. There's this volunteer job on campus. It's the most difficult volunteer job in all of America, and it's called Volunteer Puppy Huggers. So from the minute the puppies are born, we have volunteers going in there, hugging and loving on the puppies, showing the puppies that, hey, these human people that you're going to be around the rest of your life, they're really cool. So your dog is already so used to humans, loves humans, thinks they're the best. And then once they're 4 weeks old, we start training them to become a guide dog. We start socializing them with all different sights, sounds, feels, touches, smells. They'll go over a ladder that goes up and down to help them work on their balance. They walk over a crate, which is meant to emulate, like, hey, you're in New York City or you're in the city and it walks over a crate. You don't want your dog freaking out at the feeling of its paws squishing on crates. They're going to be used to that at as young as 4 to 8 weeks. Once the puppies are 8 weeks old, they go home to actually the most noble volunteers in all of America. We call them puppy raisers. The puppy raisers volunteer to foster the dogs from 8 weeks old to a year and a half. And their responsibilities are to let the dog grow up and get it to be just a really great dog. Basic obedience is one of the emphases. House manners, so that it's housebroken. They teach it to go to the bathroom on command. They teach it how to walk on a loose leash. And then the most importantly is, once again, that socialization factor. So your dog will be accustomed to any different environment that you bring it to, because it's probably already been there. We tell our puppy raisers, if you're going to Starbucks, bring your dog to Starbucks so that it doesn't freak out when it's in line. Bring your dog to Target so it's used to shopping carts. Bring your dog to the movie theaters so it knows how to behave. Bring it to the beach. They bring their dogs everywhere. They have a checklist. So your dog is ultimately prepared for wherever you're going to go. This is real quick, just a quick tidbit on the service dog program. We raise those dogs in prison, actually down in the brig in Camp Pendleton, and then Richard Donovan down there as well. Even though it's unrelated to the guide dog program, it's just something that I'm especially proud of, because once again, these dogs touch and impact so many lives. And what this program does is it teaches inmates and incarcerated individuals really important life skills that they might not have had. So it teaches them about, communication, team building. It teaches them a valuable skill in how to train and love a dog. It's just that there's so much to talk about with the program, but it's just not that important today, but figured I'd give you a little innuendo on that. So that's the service dog side. Service dogs are raised in prisons. Guide dogs are raised in public by puppy raisers. Once the dogs are a year and a half, we bring them back in for formal training. When they come back in for formal training, they undergo an extensive health and temperament test. So we do health checks kind of progressively along the way. So like at a year old, we'll check their hearts. At 14 months, we'll check their eyes. But when they get in, they undergo another evaluation for everything to make sure that this dog is basically bulletproof for training and for somebody that's going to receive it. We don't want you getting a dog that 6 years down the line, it's going to need tooth surgery or elbow surgery or whatever it may be. And then temperament evaluations too. We drop, the truth is that probably only, the number's going up now that we have the service dog program because we transfer dogs over, but it used to be 50% of our dogs get dropped. And it could be for any reason. And the best way that I put it, I don't know if we got any football fans or sports fans, is I could have been born and just been told that I was going to be an NFL quarterback. Well, how fair is that? Because I don't have the hand-eye coordination. I can't throw a ball that well. I'm not fast enough. And I just was never meant to be an NFL quarterback. And that's a lot of what our guide dogs are. Just because they're born here doesn't mean they were meant for this specific job. They might be better at other things. They might be the best house pet in the world. They might meant to be a bomb sniffing dog, whatever it may be. Being a guide dog just wasn't for them. And being a guide dog is like the Marine Corps of the service dog world. It's an extremely difficult, challenging job that requires so much out of them. And it's just not for everyone. So of the dogs that do make it, they start formal training, and that takes between 4 to 6 months. They go out with our guide dog mobility instructors all throughout Southern California and learn how to be a guide dog, how to walk from curb to curb, how to avoid obstacles, extensive traffic training, how to never, walk in front of a car, how to find different, landmarkings. So By the time you get them, we always have to remind students, the dog knows, the dog's gone through school. They're essentially graduated. It's you, the handler, that we're training. What does a guide dog do? This picture here is one of our students, Elizabeth, with her dog Scott. Elizabeth, I actually just saw. I was up in Seattle for a fundraiser, and she's a lawyer, and right now she's a judge for corporate lawsuits. So she's really impressive, and her and Scotty go everywhere all throughout Seattle. It's really impressive. What does Scotty do for her, though? So I've talked about it a few times already. The straight line method being the most important. Their job is to get you from point A to point B without walking into anything. So you guys might be using a cane right now. If you're walking down the sidewalk and there is an orange cone because there was something being fixed, you have to walk down the sidewalk, you have to touch the cone with your cane, you have to assess what's in front of you, you have to figure out how far around the cone you have to be safe, or, oh, is it even safe to walk past, or was this cone, not meant to stop me? It's a really mentally taxing process. It's time consuming, whereas a guide dog is going to see that orange cone and it's going to make a judgment, and it's going to kind of move you right around it without you even knowing it sometimes. Sometimes it might stop and then you have to walk around, but it's a much quicker because you have these eyes there helping make decisions for you. The other part of guide dog training is that they stop at any change in elevation. So staircases, curbs, platforms, whatever it may be, it's going to stop so that you don't trip or fall. Intelligent disobedience is an aspect that we train our dogs to, and it's kind of self-intuitive, but basically what intelligent disobedience means is that if you tell your dog to do something and it's unsafe, it's going to intelligently disobey your command. So for example, you guys are out on a hike and you're walking up this giant mountain and you come to a cliff, and over that cliff is a 5,000-foot drop, just for drama purposes here. You're saying, hey, Fluffy, go forward, go forward. And the dog's not moving, and you're like, why the heck is Fluffy not going? I'm telling him to do this. Well, he's intelligently disobeying you because he knows and he can see, oh man, if we go over this, I'm gonna get hurt. And this person that means the most in the world to me, that I love so ever dearly, is also gonna get hurt. So there is no way I'm letting them go over that cliff. Well, the cliff is dramatic, but there's cliffs every day, as you might know. There's staircase landings, train platforms, escalators, elevators, whatever it may be that has a change in elevation that if you go over it, you're going to get hurt, and your dog is never going to let you do that without giving you a warning. Same with traffic. You do have to have O&M training and traffic training, but say you don't hear that gosh darn Prius that doesn't make any noise, and you say Fluffy forward. Your dog is not going to go forward and walk you in front of a car ever. One of the other cool aspects of a guide dog is that there's common route learning. So if you walk to the same bus stop every day, if you get up from your desk and go to the bathroom in the same place, they're going to pick up those routes, and eventually they're going to kind of get the hang of it, and it's going to be just without even thinking about it. All right, we're going to the bathroom. I'm following along. They also can do cool cues, like one of the ones that I love is the follow command. So if you have someone that you're, a kid, a wife, a spouse, a friend, and they're walking in public, you don't have to sighted guide with them anymore. They can just lead the way and you say, Fluffy, follow. And they're going to follow that person through the crowd. It's a really, really helpful command. Veterans, autism, I'm just clicking through some slides. So next up is the application process. The dog in the picture is a black lab and she's on a laptop. That's actually Wiki, and she's the dog of our admission. She's the guide dog of our client services and admissions coordinator, Greg Steinmetz. Greg will be the next point of contact after myself. He's who you would call to get, if you wanted to call before submitting an application or just wanted to talk more about this, you would talk to Greg. I'll make sure that I post his phone number at the end. Wanda, remind me of that. The application is available online at guidedogsofamerica.org. I'll also post a link to that. What we require is the requirements before the application. Most importantly, you have to be 18 years of age. You have to have pretty solid O&M training. That is the most important part. And which one of you is the O&M trainer? Did the O&M trainer show up here, Wanda?
Yes, she's in the session. Kima, can you open your camera? You've met her before.
Yeah, I am muted. So
That's fine.
yeah, I'm definitely here.
Okay, well, so O&M training is the most important aspect before getting a guide dog. A guide dog is not an end-all be-all. It's not a quick fix for your mobilities. It's a tool that makes them and enhances them, but it does not just give you them. We tell everyone, it's a requirement, first of all, to have an O&M instructor sign off and approve you for a guide dog and say, yes, I think this person is a good fit. You need to be able to remember and follow common routes. You need to be able to handle traffic. You need to be an independent traveler. And you have to be able to keep yourself together. You can't, it's one thing to follow a common route when things are going okay, but you have to be a problem solver too. Oh my God, there was a truck that an ambulance went by and my dog got pulled off course. Well, I'm able to put it back on. And I'm not trying to make these sound too severe. I just want to stress the importance that it would make the process for you much better if you have stronger O&M skills. Furthermore, we ask that you have 4 to 5 common routes a day. That's not a big deal. It's not like you have to be walking to the Capitol Hill and solving the world's problems, but hey, I actually have a use for this dog. I'm going to work it. The dogs need to be worked. When we talked about selective breeding, these dogs want to work. They need to work to keep up with their training. So therefore, showing us that you have a need is an important part of the app. What we require in the application, there's a bunch of medical history. So your doctor, you're going to need a TB test. We're going to require a few references from you, friends, family, whatever, saying, hey, I think Joe is a great fit for a dog. I think he would need one. He's always been great with animals, whatever. We're going to have interviews with you talking, and that's about us collecting data points on you. Okay, what does Joe need for what is Joe's life like? What is his speed? What is his pace? We're starting to, in that process, we're starting to figure out, hey, do we have a dog for this person? What class are they going to fit in? And then the last thing is that we do a video submission. So we want your friend or family to just follow you with like a little iPhone on a route. That's once again telling us, do they have the O&M skills? But also more importantly, what are they like? What does their house look like? What does their street look like? Where are they living? What is their pace? What is their speed? What is their balance like? All these different things that our trainers use when ultimately getting ready to give you a dog. And then we also require an ophthalmologist report certifying that you're legally blind. Most of you probably know what legally blind is, but we require under 2200 vision with corrective lenses or less than 20 degrees peripheral. Those are our requirements. Oh, and real quick, going back there, we get a lot of questions about what the average weight is. For a guide dog, we say that it's about 6 months. And that's not saying that, once your application's in, it's 6 months from there. That means that the process usually takes about 6 months. By the time you go and get all of your doctor's reports, by the time you get your O&M to sign off, by the time you get your whatever it may be, submitted to us, we assess it, we have a class spot available. On average, it's 6 months. It could be a year, but 6 months is average. Going back to that, where we were talking about data points, in this picture here is one of our guide dog students hugging his black lab while he's sitting on the ground. This was actually during class. It was after he completed an impressive route, and it was just a super emotional moment. We put a huge emphasis on the match. That's that's one of the key points that we do. And you could go out and buy a Labrador Retriever, but it might not be the one for you. So the dog that I need is probably very different than the dog that any of you need, and the dog that you need is probably very different than everybody else's need. Everybody's needs are very unique. Some factors that we put into matching someone with a dog: their height, their gait, speed, stability. Do you veer? So like if you asked me to walk across a gymnasium straight, I'm not going to end up and straight across. I might veer to the right a little bit. Dogs also can have a pull left to right. So if I veer to the right and you put me with a dog that pulls to the right, I'm gonna be doing donuts out in the parking lot. You know, you don't want that. So we can balance things like that out. And then some more intuitive things or different things. You know, what are your energy levels like? What is your lifestyle like? Are you an accountant and you go to the office for 10 hours a day? Well, we're not going to give you a German Shepherd that needs a ton of energy and work. But are you super active and you love to walk 8 miles a day? Okay, then that German Shepherd might be for you. There's a lot of lifestyle stuff, personality things that we factor into matching with a dog. Student life, I covered this a little bit earlier, but it's a picture of our dorm room. There's a bed in there. You have your own chair to the right of your bed and a crate to the left of your bed where your dog goes. I talked about how it's outfitted with assistive technology. There's a dining room. When you're here, you get 3 square meals a day. We meet any of your dietary needs. We have snacks on hand. You're going to be hungry. I mean, you're up at 6:30, you work till 8 at night, and we want to make sure that you're well fed. And then there's also a nice common area. You become close with your fellow classmates as you're going through this process, and hanging out and getting to know them and talking with them is a great opportunity. Guide dog class, what to expect. This is a big part of the process, and the picture here is the back of our campus. There's a walkway. One of our trainers, Kelsey Horst, is doing a test walk with a student that was here thinking about getting a dog. It's a black lab. As I said, it's 3 weeks. Classes are typically 10 students in each, but that has been up and down with COVID. Like, we have a class coming in next week. It's 6 students. We want to keep people socially distanced. We do in-home trainings for repeat guide dog users, but usually if you're a first-time guide dog user, we require you to come to campus and stay with us. We give you a starting kit for your dog. You don't have to buy anything. I mean, you can buy toys or extra things if you want, but we'll give you a bed. We'll give you obviously the harness, a leash, a collar, a bowl, a few bones. I forget everything that we give you, but we give you a great start for your dog. We also give you the first bag of dog food. During guide dog class, you work on campus a lot, but then every day you're going out somewhere new throughout Southern California to expose you to the different areas you might be going to. So week 1, the first couple days you don't have your dog. We're still assessing what you might need, and we work you with the trainers. We call that Juno. So the name of the dog is Juno. So there's a trainer on one end of the harness simulating a dog, and they're showing you your lefts and your rights and your T's and your Q's and getting you used to the verbiage and the feeling. I always tell people it's like the first time dancing with your first date. You do not want to make a bad impression on your first date, so we let you make a bad impression on the trainers instead. That first time you go to take a left turn, you might go the wrong way and step on the trainer's foot. We'd much rather you step on the trainer's foot than your dog's. Wednesday, we finally match you with your dog. It's my favorite day on campus, bar none. We bring the dog in and you get, some time to bond with it, get to know it, pet it, love it. It's always funny. It's like, without fail, the people that wear all black get the yellow lab, and I walk in to take their picture and they're just covered in yellow dog hair. And the people that wear white, I walk in and they've been laying on the ground with the dog and they're covered in black dog hair. I'm like, you might have to make some wardrobe, changes on this new dog. That first week, we're teaching you a lot of the basics, and it's all comprehensive. So we cover everything. You've got to remember, you might be sitting here saying, I've had dogs my whole life. I know how to take care of a dog. But there's people that are going to be in your class that have never had a dog. And we're going to show you how to groom your dog, the importance of grooming. If you can't see your dog, you might not see something's wrong with it. Well, it might have gotten a cut, or it might have a bump, or whatever it may be. Grooming your dog, keeping it in good shape, we show people, hey, this is an important bonding moment with your dog. We teach you how to relieve your dog. They've been trained a specific way to relieve on leash and how to pick up after your dog. We teach you how to feed your dog. We teach you the importance of a schedule with your dog. If you wake up at 8, well, first thing you do is you don't go to the bathroom and brush your teeth anymore. You let your dog out first. And you let your dog out at the same time every day so that you kind of know All right, well, I took it out at 8, I fed it at 8:30. It's gonna have to go to the bathroom at 9:30. Stuff like that, that makes your life and the dog's life much more comfortable and easier. We show you how to do. Um, week one, once again, still in week one here, but it's a lot of lefts and rights and basic turns, square routes, just getting you used to the feeling of walking with a dog. It sounds dramatic, it is dramatic, but we are reteaching you the most basic function of life, which is walking. It doesn't get much more basic than that other than like breathing. You're used to walking with a cane or with someone right now, and you're looking down at the ground, you're looking for things. We want you looking up. We want shoulders back. We want you alert. We want you to trust your dog. We want you used to the feeling of taking a left, a right, a stop, or what your dog might be telling you. So it's just muscle memory at that point. Week two, we ramp it up and we start throwing in a lot of challenges. We're going to take you to the mall. The mall has a million different things to offer: escalators, elevators, busy people reaching out, petting your dog, tight stores, getting you, throwing you right to the fire, but standing by you so that you're comfortable and confident doing it. We take you on public transportation. We start working on traffic training. And then the big one that people, is a big step is night walks. We're going to take you out for a walk at night. And for a lot of students, from what I know, they might have some residual vision, but at night it's gone. And because of that, they don't feel comfortable walking at night anymore, and they haven't walked at night for a really long time. One of my favorite students, Tom Olzak, he's a public speaker for us. He actually used to work at the Braille in LA. He did development there. He's 6'4", Southern gentleman, you wouldn't, just tough guy. And he always tells the story that he was going on his night walk and he was shaking in his boots. He was like, I was on the verge of tears because I was so scared. I hadn't walked at night in years. And I looked down at my dog and he looked back at me and he said, I got you. I'm never going to let anything happen to you. And he tells that story everywhere he goes because they did the walk fine. And for the rest, from there on out, it's about showing you to trust your dog and have confidence. They've got you. They will not let you down. And you have to build that trust with them. And that's part of class. It's building trust and comfortableness. Week three, like I said, it's an important week. It's about you showing us you're ready to go home and us believing that you're ready to go home. It's about independence. Instead of a trainer following you through your whole route, we might place them at Starbucks in the mall. And we're going to say, hey, you're at Macy's right now. Get to Starbucks, get a coffee, talk to a trainer there, and then go meet another trainer in Sears or wherever and show us that you are, ready to go home. And then we also teach you a lot. There's lectures that accompany every lesson. There's a lot of lecture time where we're sitting and talking. And one of the lectures in the last week is about going home and the importance of continuing that bond. Yes, at the end of this, you graduated from our program, but there's still so much work to do. You've known this dog 14, 15 days. You're still on your second or third date here. And there's a long ways to go. It's usually about a year of working together until you feel like totally comfortable and smooth. Most of our clients come back to us at our year checkup and say, I felt there's like a moment that they call it the moment, the click. And what that is you realize as a guide dog handler, you're not thinking about what you're doing anymore. It's just second nature. That same graduate, Tom Olzak, he says, at that year mark, I realized I didn't know where my arm stopped and the harness handle began because me and my dog were just one functioning being. And after about a year of working with your dog, you're going to feel that. It's like, driving and you don't remember taking lefts and rights home. It's just becomes one smooth process. This is about service dog class. At the end of your class, there's a graduation. With COVID, it's been a little limited, but normally there's about 100 plus people in the audience. You guys are offered the chance to speak. You don't have to if you don't want to. You also meet your dog's puppy raiser. They're so ecstatic that their dog's graduating. They want to meet you. You don't have to keep up with them if you don't want to, but a lot of times people enjoy continuing the relationship. They become like family. After you've graduated, there's a ton of, I talked about it at the beginning, but lifetime support's critical. We're going to check in with you. I believe it's, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. You can call us anytime with anything that's going on. You have veterinarian services here available. And then on top of that, if you're local, I know she said that some people, if you are more local than San Diego, but grooming and boarding are always available here. So you can bring your dog in for a checkup. You can ask for it to be groomed. And then say you're going somewhere and you don't want to bring your dog. You don't have to find someone to take care of it, or you don't have to take care of it. You might be traveling with a spouse, a friend, or a partner and think, okay, I'm going to be at a big conference all week. I'd rather just go sighted guide. Drop your dog off here with us. We'll even throw it back into training for you and check in on it. We'll make sure that it's doing all right, and we'll take care of it for you, and you can pick it up when you come back. And then the last bullet point here is about retirement. I always get this question. I don't like covering it in the presentation, but I always get the question about retirement. You get your dog at 2 years old. The dog's 2 by the time that you get it. We like to say that you're going to, work the dog 6 to 8 years. I like to say 8 because that's what I typically see. At about 10 years old, your dog has worked a really long life, every day, dragging you around. It's a hard job. It's a big job. And by then you'll start noticing signs. You'll notice my dog's slowing down, or, I'm matching my pace. I'm slowing down my pace to match my dog's pace. I grabbed the harness off the door and he didn't jump up anymore, stuff like that. And at retirement, there's you have any option at your disposal. It's your choice. We transfer ownership of the dog over to you after a year of you having it. The only thing that we retain ownership of is the harness. And that, I only say it because I know that it's controversial in the community, but very rarely do we ever have to revoke a harness. It's only medical issues really. But if you're, when the dog retires, you can keep the dog, you can, and not work it. You can give the dog to a family member, a friend, whoever you want it to go to. If you don't have anybody for the dog to go to, it could go back to the puppy raiser. They're always like ecstatic. Yo, yes, I want this dog back immediately. And in the cases where none of those are at our disposal, we have an adoption list that spans probably to China of people that want retired guide or service dogs. The reasons, if you're retiring and you can't keep your, you might be single and living in an apartment and you can't keep your dog, but you might have a spouse and say, all right, I can go get another guide dog while keeping my dog at home. It's your choice what to do at that point. And then this final picture here is a new sculpture that we have. It says GDA, and there's a puppy in training. So I'm going to look through the questions here. Did I get questions? I'm sure there's a million questions. I see Daisy put her hand up at one point.
Yeah, actually Daisy has 2 questions, and she wanted to know about why no chocolate doggies, and is it just the school's preference or something else? And then she has a question that she can deliver herself. Daisy, you may go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just had a question. I think that I contacted GDA like a while back about this, but I just wanted to sort of confirm it. Is the legal blindness rule really binding, or is it just can there be exceptions? Because I'm severely visually impaired because I was born very prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
So I have limited depth perception. I have limited field of vision, but not technically enough to be considered legally blind. But I feel I would benefit from a guide dog in the future, or at least O&M training. So would that be a possibility with your school, or would I be rejected because I'm not legally blind in the sense?
So bunch to unpack there, but I would say that depending on what services are available with Braille, O&M training is the first step. So if those are available to you right now, I would get started on that. The next thing I would do is I would say to call Greg. Once again, let me get his phone number up here. Call Greg and talk to him. It's obviously a requirement, but I don't want to say never. But talk it through with him. There's always exceptions to be made, but I don't know. I can't answer that question without knowing. I'm not an ophthalmologist, or anything. So call Greg, talk it through with him, explain the situation. I don't know if you've talked to him before or not, but he would have a more clear-cut answer to you about what that process would look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Zach, I just wanted to say that I will also follow up with the email to all of our attendees, our students and guests today, and just provide them with the information of how to contact Greg and anything else you might want me to share with
Yeah.
today's guests.
And real quick, I'll show you, I'm on our website right now. It's completely accessible. There's an accessibility button at the top where you know, if you can read large print or inverted, those options are available to you. As the screen reader's going, if you're listening to a screen reader, there is a secondary navigation bar. The first option is our programs. You could click on that, but the one that you want to click on is obviously visually impaired. When you click on the visually impaired navigation button, it's a blue button to the left of the screen. There is a page that has all of the requirements, a lot of what I covered today, more about the application process, and at the bottom there's a button that says apply for a guide dog, and that's where you start. I'm going to put in the chat, on the right side of the screen is the contact us bar, and this is the information I was talking about. The contact person for admissions is Greg Steinmetz. Greg Steinmetz's phone number, because that's the admissions number, and then he's got an email too if you're more comfortable with that. What are some other questions? I tend to ramble through and then let the questions come, so I know I threw a lot at you. I hope you're not exhausted.
Yeah, and I just want to say, because some people can't raise their hand in the app, just go ahead and ask your question and just try and be orderly. If someone's speaking, please give them the floor. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
This is Laura. I have a question.
Hi, Laura.
So you said there is a 6-month waiting period.
Yeah. So
I was unclear. Like, could I just start applying now, or I didn't really understand that. And then secondly, where are you located? Are you in LA or Oceanside? I don't know why I got confused where you're located.
So the first part of that is we're in Los Angeles. The service dog program that we merged with is from Oceanside. I added that in because it's close to you guys. But
Okay.
we are in northern Los Angeles. It's a town called Sylmar. It's right off of the 5 freeway. But then to answer your second question, the wait time is based on the start of your application and you getting it done to when we think you'd get a dog. So if you went online, started the application today, that means 6 months from now is March. That's average. You know, once again, that's not to say that if you got everything right away, that we might not, you know, I don't know when our next guide dog class is. I think it's the beginning of next year, that you couldn't be in the January class. But that also could mean that you might not be in the March class. You could be in the June class. It really changes from person to person. It depends on 1, how fast you get your application in, 2, how fast we can process it, 3, when we have our next class available, and then 4, most importantly, is when we have a dog that we think would be a good fit to you. So, you know, you might have your application in, we might have a class spot opening, but I don't know how tall you are, but if you're, you know, 5'10" or 5'8", we might not have a dog that matches your speed or height or lifestyle or whatever, and that might add to the weight. But like I said, you know, we could have one in January. It all depends, but we just like to give people kind of a gauge of, it is a little bit of a process. 6 months is about what we find, but it's not a wait. It's just how long the process takes.
I have a question.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just I don't know how to do the application because I can't see anything on a computer or a phone, so I don't know how to do it. Okay.
So for that, to answer, you know, if people are, that's a great question. One is the application is completely accessible online. It goes well with screen readers, etc. We can help you fill out the application. That's Greg's job. Greg will help you work through it. If there's someone that can help you with the application, I would, you know, recommend that. Someone here at the center might be able to help you work through the application.
Okay, so we can do a verbal application, because I did that for another thing I applied for. I had to do a verbal application because I can't see anything on the computer or phone.
I would have to, I'm not entirely certain, but don't worry, you know, if you're interested in getting a guide dog, we will make sure that the application gets filled out. That's something that you can talk with Greg for.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure that
Don't be-
part out.
Don't be
Yeah.
discouraged by the first step. You know,
Yeah.
we're here to make stuff happen for you. We're here to help you. I wouldn't, you know, just because you're worried about the application, don't let it discourage you. We'll make sure that you can get an application in.
Okay,
Okay.
it seems like I heard another potential question out there. Malcolm, did you have a question for Zach?
Yes, I do. In regards to the O&M training, is there a section in the application, or what is it that you like get verified through your O&M instructor that you have passed the class or whatever? How do you go about that?
So there's a form that's a part of the application that we will require your O&M instructor to fill out and send back to us. I don't know, it's been a while since I saw it, what the exact questions are, but it's basically, you know, Kima or whoever your O&M instructor saying, yes, this person has the O&M skills required for having a guide dog, which, like I talked about earlier, you know, traffic training, independent traveler, route following. And yes, I think they'd be a good fit for a guide dog. And this is kind of what they're like. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's an assurance from us that you have the skills needed to get a guide dog, because you can't get one without it. But it's not a big, you know, once again, I don't want to it's hard to balance making something sound severe without sounding discouraging, because it really isn't too, you know, it's not like you have to be running through an obstacle course with your cane. If that helps, you know, with that.
Yeah. Follow up to that, the application, you can apply online, or
Yes.
do you send the application to us and we fill it out so that we have that form that our O&M instructor would need to fill out?
So there are, and let me open up the window. I'm going to open up a window here. 1 second. So
Okay.
the application is online. You can choose to fill it out online if you'd like. The application, if you want to do it by hand or with someone by hand, Greg, if you call Greg and talk to him over the phone, he will do a little introduction with you, talk to you a little bit more, and then he can mail you an application as well. So if you want to do it at your house with a family member or a friend, whatever. So here I'm on the website. I'm just going to click through some things, honestly, more for myself to get myself familiar with it. So there's a couple forms here. The ophthalmologist report is here. It just goes over, the cause of blindness, when it was, what your vision loss is like. Is it stable, progressive, improving? What eyes it's affecting? What medications, stuff like that. So that's the ophthalmologist report. That's pretty straightforward. They'll know what to do. You'd call your ophthalmologist, send it to them or show them where to fill it out, and have them and get it back to you to send into us. The physician's report, once again, just stating that you are in good health, that you are stable, that you have a TB test, that you're able to walk 1 to 2 miles a day. Do you use any devices? What's your motion like? What's all these different things? Once again, you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to pass the physician's report. It's just us getting information about you. If there is something that might not be preferred, it's not a disqualifier. It's for us to adjust the type of dog that you're getting to. So if you're not the most stable person, that doesn't mean that you're not getting a guide dog. It means that we're going to give you a stronger guide dog to help with that. It's us gathering data points.
Can I just do a quick little housekeeping? It is now 12:01, and this was a 1-hour workshop. I'm happy to continue, but I just wanted to say thank you all. And if there's anyone who cannot stay on, you may go ahead and exit the session quietly. And then as long as Zach is available, we'll continue on until we've covered all of our questions. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks, Wanda. Thanks for having us, and thanks for having the presenter, Zack. I think I met him at the Braille Institute. I think 2 years ago, I did a workshop with him at the Braille.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Fabian. We'll see you later.
I'll finish up the O&M real quick, and then if there's any more questions, feel free to leave, go, stay. I'm here. I don't need to go anywhere.
Thanks. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm on the O&M report right here. So, like I said, it's ability to understand unfamiliar travel areas, intersections, the rate of your learning, walks with the cane or any support, use of your arms, any balance abnormalities. Do you have a veer? Can you, handle a leash? Are you energetic, slower, whatever it may be, where you're traveling typically? How do you travel with a cane? How do you do with changes under your footing? Once again, if there was, one of the questions here is aware of underfooting changes, brick, asphalt, grass. Say that was a no. That doesn't mean that you're not getting a guide dog. That means that we just need to be aware of it to work with you on it. Or if there were a lot of no's, we might say, can you go back and brush up with these few things with your orientation mobility instructor and come back to us after. We'll keep your application in process. Even returning guide dog users that have been doing it for 20 years, when their dog retires, we ask them to go back to orientation and mobility training, brush up on using your cane, brush up on your skills. There's a lot of things you might have forgotten, and then come back and get a dog. So like I said, I don't want to scare you off by the application or the process. It's really not a big deal. It's just getting you prepared, getting us prepared, and making sure that you're ready.
So to me, yes, but to me, it sounds like the best thing to do, since you have to have your O&M mobility instructor, your ophthalmologist, your doctor, fill out reports. It's best to have the application sent to you, give those to those necessary people, have them fill it out, get it back to you, and then send all 4 documents together with the application and those 3. Would that be correct?
That's a great way of doing it. There's other ways of doing it too. Say you're good with your computer, or you have someone that's good with a computer, you could email over those forms or send a link to those forms and have them do it that way. Say one comes back before another, you can send it to Greg if it's ready. Greg will just keep it on file for when you have everything in. So your way is totally fine. Great way of doing it. If you want to do it piece by piece as they come in, you can do that too. There's no right or wrong way. But once again, call Greg, talk with him, introduce yourself, tell him where you met me, and he will, add more information. He knows much more about the application process than I do. And if you do want one mailed to you, he will certainly mail one to you right now. So he's the first step. I can't stress that enough.
Okay.
I see in the chat here, Wanda, were you going to read some of the questions in the chat?
I think those are basically between Kima and a couple of our guests here, but it sounds like we have a live question. Do you want to go ahead, whoever that is? I couldn't catch the voice. Go ahead with your question.
It's me, Corey.
Oh, go ahead, Corey.
Hi, Corey. How are you?
Hi. What if you can't bring your guide dog somewhere? It's so used to going with you places. Will it try to dig out the yard, or should you keep it in the house, or what?
So first of all, one thing that I didn't cover is the ADA and what protects you. So your ADA rights mean that you can bring your dog anywhere that you are reasonably allowed to go. So obviously, like if you're at a restaurant, you're allowed to bring your dog to the restaurant. It's allowed to sit with you, but you couldn't go into the kitchen of the restaurant and say, oh, my dog could be there, because you wouldn't reasonably go there. In class, like I said, it's very lecture intensive. We will teach you how to react and respond and know your rights when those situations arrive. Now, your question was a little different. Your dog will be totally fine if you leave it at home. One of the things about having a guide dog is that when it's in harness, it knows it's working. So your guide dog's in harness, it knows, hey, I'm not going up, I'm not greeting people, I am keeping this person on a straight line. When that harness is off and you're at home, the dog's just another dog. It lays down, it might be tired, it might want to play. It's just a dog, and it's so well trained, it's not going to dig or chew anything up. If it did, we would work on correcting it with you, but I've never heard something like that be the case.
Okay, and I have another question.
Yep.
What
Great
if
question.
you don't go places every day?
So you don't have to go places every day, but you do have to have a few common routes. So, and I will say that you don't have to go places, but having a guide dog requires you to work your dog every day. So you might be work from home, you might not have anywhere to go, but just go around the block for a 2-mile walk in the morning, or a mile walk in the morning, or a mile in the morning and a mile at night. Your dog does need exercise. It does need to be stimulated. If you don't use it, you lose it. So that's what I'd say on that. But you would have to show, hey, I go to the grocery store, the library, a friend's house, or these different things once or twice a week, stuff like that. So it's not a hard requirement. It just changes, and we need to know that you have a use for the dog.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question in the chat from Christina, and she says, are there any age restrictions or mild cognitive disorders that would potentially deny someone to a guide dog?
So there's no upper age limit. That was the one rule that it was our founding rule, no upper age limit. When Joseph Jones was 57 and he got a guide dog, he said, I'm never going to deny someone, no matter how old they are, from getting a guide dog. I saw an 83-year-old graduate with a 100-pound black lab. The lower age restriction is 18. And the reason for that is that we want them to have strong orientation and mobility skills. We want them to be mature enough to handle a guide dog. As far as cognitive disorders, one of the requirements is that you have to be a year seizure free. I believe it's 6 months to a year without a seizure. There's probably some others, but that would be a question for Greg if you have a specific one. I'm not expert on that subject.
Thank you.
Oh,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I have another question. So this is Laura, but did you say we can fill an application out? You can mail us one? We don't have to do it online. You can do it by mail. You could mail me one and I could mail it back?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right, that might be easier.
In the chat, it looks like Shane or Jackie had written, my nephew Shane is recently blind. Who would provide the O&M training? Would it be me, Wanda? No, actually, the training for O&M is available at each of our locations. We have 7 locations throughout Southern California. Our O&M specialist for San Diego is the wonderful Kima McClung, who you see there with the purple background, just waved. So she can assist any of our students or patrons in the San Diego County and surrounding areas. But for others that are visiting from one of our other locations, you can contact your Braille Institute Center and they can connect you with the O&M for that particular location. And there is a process that you have to go through, just like everything else. So you would have to make an application. But if you contact your center and just inquire, you would be directed to your representative. So I just wanted to say that. Any other questions for Zach? It is now 10 minutes after the hour. Go ahead, sir.
What about cost, prices, or payments, or I don't know.
I can't believe I didn't mention that. So there's no cost
Great
associated.
question.
I blew right by that one because I just assume everybody knows, but there's no cost associated with attending our program or receiving a dog from us. They're completely free of charge. Each dog costs us $60,000. And my job is to make sure that we can provide them for free. We fundraise and market all year long to make sure that when you come here, there's not $1 out of your pocket to come and receive a dog. Now, with that, after receiving your dog, there are costs, and but they're not overly significant, and there's ways around them. So I believe the number that we tell people is like $50 to $60 a month. A bag of dog food through like Chewy.com, I think, is $40. We feed the dogs Purina from the minute that they're born. Is it the best food in the world? No. Is it really good for the price point? Yes, it's one of the best. The reason we feed it Purina is because it's accessible and it's affordable. You could always change it if you wanted, but and plenty of people do. But $40, you could budget $40 for dog food. If you are on a certain type of Social Security, I've always wanted to be, and I always look this up and always forget it, but a certain type of Social Security that in California offers a stipend for dog food. They will add in, I think it's $50 a month to cover the cost of dog food. Then we also, you have to factor in flea, tick, and heart. We buy them from the wholesaler, and then we sell them to you at cost. So it's cheapest to call and order it through us. You deal with Greg from Client Services to handle that, and we will ship you the supplies at cost. So it's much cheaper, and I believe we estimate it's like $10 a month for that. It's like $5 for each, so there's $50. And then any additional, toys, whatever, leashes, collars, that would be additional, but that's not like a monthly thing. So 50 to $60 a month extra to have a dog, but you'd be saving on Ubers or something like saving on gas.
Good point. And just another note regarding the O&M, in the email that I sent to everyone that attended today, I will include the phone number for the centers for all 7 and reference the name of our O&M representative for each of those centers so that you'll have that information in your email as well. So if we have no further questions for Zack, I want to thank you so much, Zack, for coming out. We really appreciate all of your time. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Enjoyed the slideshow too.
Once again, I can't reiterate enough. If you have any questions, you can email admissions@guidedogsofamerica.org. Wanda will send you the number. Call and chat with Greg. Even if you're thinking, I'm not totally sure, I'm not totally ready, call and have a talk with him. He's a guide dog user himself. He's the best person in the world for the job that he's in, and he will get you started. Even if it's not for a guide dog now, it could be for later, what you need to get ready or prepare. And if it is for now, he will get you on the right track. He'll handle everything, and he's always there. He's in the office next to me. He's always talking on the phone. So thank you guys very much for having me. Wanda,
thank you very much
send me the calendar. Send me the invite for the next quarter.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that was just
Appreciate the information. Thank you.
It's an awesome program, folks. So if you are thinking about a guide dog, there's a wonderful option for you right here. I mean, it's beautiful. It makes me want to get a guide dog. So anyway, thank you everybody for coming today. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful and safe weekend.